guys, I wanted to come here today to make this video to talk about my cancer story. In August 2021, I was diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. While I was doing chemotherapy, I would go on YouTube and watch videos similar to this where people would talk about their cancer story, which helped me a lot in my process since it made me feel like I wasn't alone. So I wanted to make this video as a Black woman because I did not see a lot of people of color making videos like this to help anyone else going through this process. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I'll put that in the comment section. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this video, and yeah. I'm separating this video into segments of my diagnosis, chemotherapy, hair loss, and just any topics that occurred while I was in chemotherapy. So this is how I first got diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. I came back home from a family vacation in Jamaica, and then I came home with a fever, and I was very confused because I kept on getting COVID tests, but they kept on being negative. So I'm like, what is this? The fever went away, and I went on back to my normal life, and then I started to wheeze. And I'm like, I've never wheezed in my life before. I've never had asthma or anything like that. So I was very confused. So I went to my doctor, but she prescribed me an inhaler, which obviously didn't work. And I just kept on complaining. Then I went to my doctor's office and I told her that the wheezing isn't going away with the inhaler and that she needs to do something else. But she didn't know what else to do, so I went back home. And then I told my mom that I'm still wheezing, and I was planning on going back to school the next week. So my mom did not want me to go to school wheezing, so she told my doctor to run more tests. So my doctor ordered a chest x-ray, and in the chest x-ray, she saw there was a lesion in my chest. So I had to go back to the place where I got the x-ray for more imaging. And once they did more imaging, they saw a mass in front of my heart. So after that, I was rushed to the hospital, and I was very confused at this point. I did not know what was going on. I was very worried because I really wanted to go to school the next week. So once I got to the hospital, I was admitted into peds oncology, and they told me that they think it's Hodgkin's lymphoma. They're very positive that it is that. And so I stayed the night in the hospital that day because they wanted me to get the first available biopsy appointment the following day. So I spent the night, which was pretty scary, of course. And then the next day, I had my biopsy. So the next day, I woke up and I finally had the biopsy procedure. And for this procedure, I was awake since it wasn't that invasive. They basically microscopically took pieces from the mass in front of my chest and biopsied it, and every time they took a piece, I heard a click and I felt pressure in my chest, which was a bit nerve-wracking, but I got through it, of course. And then, unfortunately, they said the pieces that they got were not viable, so I had to do another surgery a few days later where I was fully sedated, where they went in through my neck and biopsied lymph nodes so they can confirm that it was cancerous, which it was, unfortunately. So the next step in my diagnosis process was getting a PET scan, and a PET scan basically shows where the cancer is in your body. So basically, I sat in a tube for an hour while they did the scan, and the scan showed that I had cancer from my groin all the way to my neck and in my spine. I can put a picture up of my scan. So in this picture, you can see how there's flashing colors from my groin to my neck. Wherever you see bright colors, that's cancer. Then, based on my PET scan results, I was finally diagnosed with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer. So next I had my port procedure, which was a minor procedure. I didn't feel any pain. I obviously had a lot of pain meds. But basically they inserted the chemotherapy port device right here on my right side of my chest. You can see the scar here, it's healed pretty well, thankfully. And so yeah, a chemotherapy port is used to administer chemotherapy medications to your central veins, and you can also draw blood for labs. I can insert a picture here of a port so you can see what it looks like. So after I got my official diagnosis, I had a meeting with my oncologist and my family to talk about my treatment plan. So the plan was for me to get the typical AVD chemo medication and then nivolumab. And I was scheduled to have chemotherapy appointments every other week for the next 6 months. So I was not gonna go back to school. I was gonna stay home and do chemotherapy. And so after my first chemotherapy treatment, I felt very, very sick. Like right after in the hospital, I heard ringing in my ear. I got really, really dizzy. I felt really, really hot, and I felt like I was gonna pass out. So then my doctors gave me Benadryl and Tylenol to help with those symptoms. But the Benadryl made me very, very drowsy after every treatment. I couldn't even walk because it was so strong. But it did prevent those symptoms from happening. So that's why I needed it. So some chemotherapy side effects I experienced were obviously a lot of nausea. I would usually be nauseous for the first 2 to 3 days after chemotherapy, but I would take a bunch of nausea meds to help, but you still feel sort of nauseous. And then I also experienced this like weird tongue sensation. The chemo meds would make my tongue burn, which was really, really weird. But I used this special mouthwash to help soothe that. And then I wouldn't feel back to normal until like, I would say 5 or 6 days after chemotherapy. And then the weeks that I didn't have chemo, I would feel back to normal and like fully like my normal self. Just a little bit weaker, of course. I would say I would move slower than how I did before, but other than that, I felt pretty normal. So it's time to talk about hair loss, which was literally one of the hardest things I had to do in this process, was to lose all of my hair. So before I lost my hair, I made a very fun decision to dye it pink because I wanted to have control in the process, and I couldn't dye it pink before because that's a pretty wild color, so I never had the balls to do it. So I did it and it looked beautiful. I'm probably gonna insert a picture here. But yeah, I dyed my hair pink, and that lasted about, I would say, after my second chemo appointment, the pink hair started falling out, and it was very tragic. I was very upset, and so then I decided that it was time for me to shave it. So my dad came over, he shaved my entire head, and then I was officially bald. Since I was completely bald, I started to wear like head wraps, and I would wear wigs from time to time when I needed to go out. I didn't want to like have all the attention on me. Look at this young girl who's completely bald. People would definitely bat their eyes at me. So yeah, I wore that to feel more comfortable in public. And then my eyebrows and eyelashes started to fall out towards the end of treatment. It did not happen immediately. I also didn't have any body hair. That was the part that I liked, of course. As you can see, this is what my hair looks like now. It didn't start to really grow until I would say 5 or 6 months after treatment. It was pretty much peach fuzz. I can probably upload some pictures here of what it looked like. So this is what it looked like in the beginning, and then it started to grow and grow more over time, as you can see. And this is how it looks now. It's very just curly, very soft, you know, but it surely is growing. And I'm kind of happy that I got to start over now, because now my hair is fully healthy. It has no heat damage at all. So I love the growth. I love it. Another side effect I experienced because of chemotherapy were that my nails and my toenails turned basically black. It was really embarrassing, so I would cover up with nail polish or acrylic nails all the time. I can insert a picture of it here. So yeah, the chemotherapy meds made me, I guess, produce more melanin in my body than what I needed. So that's why I experienced it. And I think mostly people of color experience this chemotherapy side effect. It took about, I would say, 9 months after my last chemotherapy appointment for the dark color to completely grow out, which was a very long process, obviously. And I hate how it like reminded me about like my experience just looking down at my nails. I'm like, oh, my nails are this color, I don't like it. But you know, it's just a part of the process. You just have to be patient and know that you'll get through it. So now it's officially been 1 year since my last chemotherapy treatment. And since then, I've been getting scans done every few months, and I continuously have been cancer-free. And so yeah, it's been a long journey, but I'm thankful that I went through that journey because I've learned so much from it, and now I'm a part of the beautiful cancer community. My prognosis is over 90%, and I thank God for that every single day, but not everyone in the cancer community has that same prognosis. So that's why I want to advocate for cancer research, since I wish to live in a world where cancer does not exist. I want to continue to do things like this and advocate for cancer research and tell my story to help others go through similar things.